unless you have been in a cave or like me, it didn't affect you at all, you may have not noticed that last week, in the past, 3, 4 days, that's been quite a very quick issue, but there has been a big problem with Helldivers, and everybody's yelling at either the developers or Sony and all, but it's a lot of miscommunication and people yelling for nothing, right? What happened is that on day one, Arrowhead, the developer, they knew that there is a requirement that you need to log into the PSN ID to play the game. It's a requirement. I don't know exactly what's the contract and all, but the problem is that as on the first few days of Helldivers, there had been a lot of server issues. So the CEO of Arrowhead took the initiative, let's say, to ask the developers to put a skip button to skip all this PSN ID login and everything. And why? Mainly because of the server issue, and also because there's, as I said, 170 country or something like this who does not have access to the PSN. Of course, there's a lot of people saying, yes, just put a VPN and log in from another location. That's dangerous because if Sony find you are doing this, and they can find out. It's not because you are on VPN that it's safe. They can definitely find out if you're playing on a VPN. Netflix can do it, and they are not good at it. So you can be banned after buying a game. That would be, honestly, it would piss me off, right? So that's one issue. Second issue is that, and I understand the users there, right? But maybe you don't want to log into the Sony database because Sony has a massive history of data breach, and you don't want to be part of the next Sony data breach, right? So that's also why, if you are not connected to the PSN, you might not want to go there. So that's a few issues. But from the start, it was in the fine print that you needed to be connected to a PSN ID. And Sony did not take everyone by surprise. At least it has been a surprise for a lot of people, right? But it shouldn't have been. That's why 3 months later, Sony said, okay, we gave you 3 months, we gave you the right to skip it and all, but it's in the contract, it's your fine print, you need to have the PSN. There was some reason for that, to be honest. I can't remember. That was maybe for community management or something. They wanted the users on PC, on Steam, to be connected to the PSN. Anyway, some reasons like this. But because of the reason I said, the 170 location not having access to this PSN, that's a massive problem. And I myself wouldn't be playing at this stage anymore. So the community as a whole went and tried literally Helldiver on Steam. And in a matter of hours, it went to overly negative comments. It went in an average to mixed review or something like this. The day after that, Sony doubled down on it and say, not only you need to connect to a PSN, but we are removing Helldiver from all the locations which don't have access to PSN, which pisses the community even more. So they keep making noise and noise and noise. And Sony finally backed down yesterday, saying, you know what, we are failing you at these PC gamer things, right? Who are used to our console users. PC is not really our turf. It's new for us. We are sorry for all the problem it caused. Therefore, we are not the evil, greedy corporation. It's a lot, a lot of communication, but they realize that it would affect their image extremely badly. Therefore, say, you know what, it's not worth it. On one of the game, which could be like Game of 2024, sorry. Again, choose your battle. This is not where they should fight this battle. Therefore, they just back off and remove this PSN ID requirement. And I did not check, but if you guys know, did they reinstall the right to buy Helldiver in these 170 locations? I imagine yes, but I don't have this information. So if you have this information in the comments, please tell me. And that's basically the end of the story. And everybody's happy. And lately now, all you can see on Facebook and the social network are like, yeah, they listen to us, they back down. So new major order is to get back the Steam overall review to positive or very positive things. This, so everybody is back amending or doing new comments and reviews, which is pretty cool, right? It it shows that if there's like the community has a voice and even Sony can back down. Don't try on Nintendo, they would never back down, but Sony can. And that's good. Yeah, if you guys want to expand on it, because apart from this and free Stellar Blade, which is stupid, but let's turn Helldiver for now.
First of all, PlayStation is sold in those countries that don't have PSN. Like it's sold, you can buy a PS5 in the Philippines because the argument is if you don't have access to PSN and you could get banned, then why do it? But then there's videos all over the internet, like in the Philippines, where they're like showing people how to make an account for Singapore and then how to buy funds for the Singaporean thing. So this has been something that has been going on PlayStation for a really long time. This people creating things outside of their region. I think the only reason that's in the terms of service is not because PlayStation is actively going to be banning people. I think it's more of something that they have to have if they want to release in countries like China, because those countries are like, we want a lot of control over what people can play. China's pretty famous for banning certain games and that sort of thing. So I think they have to have that in their terms of service if they want to be able to be in those markets. So those government agencies could go in and be like, hey, this person is creating an account outside of our country. You need, so I think it's more for that. I have a US account. I use it for Final Fantasy. When I play that online, I have to play it through my US account. I've never had any problems. There were lots of people posting online. Arrowhead themselves came out when people said, oh, these countries don't have PSN. Arrowhead came out and one of the community managers even was saying, make an account for a neighboring country. Arrowhead was specifically telling people, create an account outside your country if you don't have PSN in your country. People went online and went to PlayStation. They went to the PlayStation support and they documented they have pictures of them communicating with PlayStation support saying, have them create an account outside their country. PlayStation is telling people to do this. Arrowhead is telling people to do this. Other people in those countries are telling people to do this, but it keeps coming up as oh, this is wrong because it's people can't be in these countries, can't access it. But the thing is they could. And I think that from the PlayStation perspective, like you said, they are saying they're new to PC. I think this is part of it. I think it's they've been doing this. The PS3, the PS4, the PS5 have been out for years and years. They've been releasing in these regions like the Philippines. People in the Philippines have been creating accounts. There are people online and they're saying like, I've had an account for 15 years. It's never been an issue. And I think from PlayStation's perspective, this is how it's always been done. And so on PC, they're like, I don't even think it was a thought to them that this is going to be an issue. I think they're just like, of course, like just create an account for another play. That's what everybody always does. But of course, the thing is, there is one small difference here, and that's the fact that your PlayStation would be linked to your Steam, and Steam is region locked for currency. PlayStation also technically is region locked for currency. You have cross play, but the currency is locked. So if, for instance, Steam was registering as an American account, but your PSN was registering as, say, or Steam is a Philippines account, and your PSN is registering as a US account or a Singaporean account, there might be some kind of bug between the two of them that one is talking some kind of AI or something in there where it's like, oh, these two things don't match, and that could cause it. However, there's no evidence that's the case because I'm pretty sure there are people in the Philippines who are playing it and had linked their PlayStation account subconsciously because it was just there. So yeah, I don't think that's a really good reason. As for why it was delisted, it's hard to say. We're not quite sure right now whether it was whether it was Sony that delisted it or Steam delisted it as a precaution. So we're not quite sure who delisted it yet. But hopefully it will come back up soon. I don't think it's up yet. As I saw as of yesterday, people were saying, okay, it's time for us. They've reversed course. It's time for us to change our reviews. And some people were saying, nope, I'm not going to change my review until it's available in all those countries again. As of yesterday, I don't think it was available in those countries again on Steam. And I'm not quite sure for people who had bought the game, I'm not quite sure if their access was limited to it or if or if you had already downloaded it, it was fine. I'm not quite sure about that either. But yeah, it is. I do think I don't think this is a malicious thing, like how you were saying. Like a lot of people were saying, like, "Oh, this is corporate greed and this is that." I don't really think so. I think it was just business and a lot of naivete on some levels. I think what happened was Sony sees Microsoft getting their stores right. If you want to play Minecraft on the PlayStation, you have to create an Xbox account. Was it like Korean was pointing out? Rockstar makes you do it. Ubisoft makes you do it. EA makes you do it. You have to have accounts for all these different things. And I think PlayStation breaking into PC, they're like, of course we want a piece of that pie. That's why we're releasing on computer now, right? That's why we're pushing all these exclusives on there. We want a piece of that pie. So I think they were just thinking, okay, let's just do it. Everyone else is doing it. It'll be fine. And then when Helldivers came out, they're saying like, okay, it has to be, people will have to log into PSN. And Arrowhead's like, fine. And then on day one, yeah, like you said, there were server issues. And the CEO of Arrowhead was thinking, he said, okay, let's do a skip button. I don't think he was being malicious. I don't think he was trying to stick it to Sony. I don't think he was doing any of that. I think it was just like, oh, I want people to play. And the options are create a temporary skip button or take down the servers for a while we try to figure this out. And of course, he wants people to play. So he's okay, we'll just put a skip button. The Steam page already says you need to have a link. We'll put out an update, and the update will say, it specifically says account linking will be done at a later date. So I think in his mind, he's okay. We've told the people that they're going to have to do it later. Everybody can play. It's a non-issue, whatever. But of course, you know how these things are. A, people don't read. And B, it was an update. It wasn't on the front page, so it's gonna get buried pretty quickly. So then people aren't gonna see it, especially as later updates come. Because when later updates, people are always checking the most recent one. So people didn't see it. And then yeah, and then so when they do say, "Okay, we're doing it now," it looks like it's a surprise, but it's from their perspective, it's not a surprise. It's something that should be expected. And then, of course, I think the other weird problem was the community managers. Helldivers has a very specific kind of aesthetic, not just in the way it looks, but in the way they present themselves, right? They're like this super earth, and they're a bit abrasive sometimes, right? And people like that about them, that they're brutally honest in a way. Like when the game first released and the guy said, "Don't buy it if you can't get in the servers," right? I would rather people be able to buy it and play it, buy it later. That's fine. I don't mind. So they do have that brutally honest kind of thing that's been working for them. So when the PlayStation thing came out, they just went with the same style they've been doing the whole time of, "Come on, guys, this takes 20 seconds." And it backfired that time. And I think they weren't expecting that. And of course, I think that offended some community managers when
Yeah.
people reacted badly to it, and then they doubled down. But yeah, I don't think it was anybody trying to be particularly malicious or evil. I think it was just a bunch of miscommunication. But yeah, but it's been resolved. Hopefully, it'll come back to those regions, and once it does, yeah, everything will go back to the way it was.
And yes, maybe that's now that I should say. And if you like this video, please look at our here of the content.